Heart-stopping, soldier left for dead in woods when two girls risk it all to save him. In the dense heart of a forgotten forest, hidden from view, a pulse of danger struck like lightning. An echoing gunshot shattered the peace, leaving only the rustle of leaves in its wake. Shadows danced between the trees, as whispers of terror twisted like smoke. Out there, a soldier lay bleeding, abandoned, his breath shallow, each gasp a desperate plea for life. Whispers carried weight, fate hung by a thread. How had it come to this? The weight of duty had turned against him, and with each passing moment, hope faded into the dark. Then, through the chaos, came a flicker of unexpected light. Two girls, barely old enough to shoulder their own burdens, crept stealthily through the underbrush, hearts racing, palms sweating. They weren't just curious, they were determined. Deep down, they knew he was out there. The stories abounded, rumors of a lost soldier swirled in their small town. Caught between fear and bravery, they took their first steps into the unknown, driven by a fierce, unyielding fire. Would they risk their lives to pull him back from the brink? As they disappeared into the shadows, the air thickened with a tangle of emotions: excitement, dread, hope coiling around them like the fog that rolled in off the ground. What if they arrived too late? What would they find? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The girls pressed onward, each whispering a prayer to the thick trees towering above. A sudden rustle pierced the tension, sending a jolt of adrenaline coursing through their veins. The forest was alive with secrets, and they stumbled upon a rickety cabin, abandoned yet strangely inviting. Its doors creaked as they pushed them open, the stale air wrapping around them like a cold embrace. In that moment, they felt the weight of destiny pressing down on their shoulders. What had they uncovered? Was the soldier truly out of reach, or was he closer than they dared to believe? They peered around, their eyes wide, searching for signs of life. Hope flickered, mingling with fear, making their hearts thump wildly in their chests. The silence turned oppressive, their breaths were ragged, filled with uncertainty. They couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. Then, a low groan echoed through the cabin, and it wasn't just the wind. What would they do next? The groan sent shockwaves through both girls, a chilling reminder of the danger lurking nearby. They exchanged hurried glances, mouths half open in silent questions. Should they call out? Investigate further? The enormity of their choice hung heavy in the air, and the slightest sound from outside reminded them of their vulnerability. Maybe it's just an animal, one of them whispered, her voice trembling. Or, it could be him, the other responded, determination flickering in her wide eyes. She took a hesitant step forward into the murky shadows of the cabin, her heart hammering against her ribcage like a warning drum. With breathless caution, they moved deeper into the cabin, its walls cloaked in layers of dust and time. A beam of moonlight illuminated a figure slumped in the corner, mere inches from a broken window. He looked dreamlike, a soldier lost in a battle between life and death. His uniform was tattered, blood-stained, and he didn't seem to notice the girls, lost in the depths of unconsciousness. Is that him? The first girl gasped. Yes. We have to help him. Her friend fought against the rising tide of fear. They could still hear the distant sounds of the forest, but here, enveloped in this cabin, it was eerily quiet. They moved closer, each breath laden with trepidation. The soldier's face was gaunt, a grim testament to his ordeal. His lips were pale and cracked, but now, in the dim light, they could make out the pain etched in his features. It made their hearts ache. He was still alive. Can you check his pulse? The brave girl urged, eyes darting toward the door, half expecting sinister figures to crash through at any moment. Heart hammering, the other girl knelt beside him, her trembling fingers brushing the soldier's wrist, searching for a pulse. It was there, faint and flickering, a hopeful sign. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. He's alive. But we need to get him out of here. The urgency sent adrenaline coursing through their veins as they looked at each other, silently weighing their options. Panic began to thread through their thoughts. What if they couldn't carry him? What if they were discovered? Suddenly, a sharp crack broke through the silence. The door of the cabin swung wide open. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, shadows blending with darkness. The girls froze, terror seizing their limbs. You shouldn't be here. The voice was deep and gravelly, resonating with a fierce authority. Before they could react, the figure stepped inside, revealing a man wearing military gear, a weapon slung across his shoulder. His gaze fell upon the soldier, a mix of recognition and fury flickering in his dark eyes. What have you done? He barked, taking measured steps toward them. The air crackled with tension, and unspoken understanding passed between them. Were they friends or foes? The girls clutched each other tightly, dread freezing them. They had come to save a life, but now they stood on the precipice of peril, trapped between loyalty and reality. As the man advanced, the ground beneath them seemed to shift. One thought dominated their minds: they had to protect him at all costs, even if it meant standing against a soldier on their own. What would they say? What would they do? Could they really risk everything they had to save someone they barely knew, or would they find themselves embroiled in a conflict deeper than they could comprehend? The tension hung thick, and their hearts raced, caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty as the man drew closer. What was his true intention? Would they have time to escape, or was this the end of their daring mission? The man's eyes darted between the soldier and the girls, his expression flaring with a mix of disbelief and rage. Get away from him! He barked, voice severing through the icy silence like a knife. The command shattered the moment, propelling the girls into action before their fear could fully consume them. Wait! The brave girl stepped forward, pushing her friend behind her. He's alive. We found him like this. We're trying to help. Her heart raced, the adrenaline transforming fear into a fervent plea. Help? The man scoffed, shaking his head. You don't know what you're getting into. He took another step closer, scanning the cabin like a predator sizing up prey. That's a deserter. He's dangerous. He could bring more trouble than you realize. Terror coursed through the girls at his words, but the courage swelling in their breasts wouldn't let them back down. Taking a deep breath, the other girl argued, he needs help. You can't just leave him here. A flicker of surprise crossed the man's face, but it quickly evaporated, morphing into a cold mask of determination. I will not let you put yourselves in danger for him. He unslung his weapon, eyes narrowing, the tension crackling in the air like a live wire. Please, we have to take him with us. The brave girl's voice trembled, but she held her ground, aware of the fine line they were walking. Or call for help. We can't just let him die here. The man paused, weighing their words as he noticed the frail state of the soldier before them. For a split second, the vulnerability of the scene gripped him. His hardened demeanor cracked, just enough to see the flicker of humanity hidden beneath. You really don't understand the consequences, do you? His gaze shifted toward the window, tension tightening around them like a noose. A haunting howl echoed through the forest, wrapping them in unease. The girls exchanged worried glances, the lingering specter of danger reminding them they weren't alone in this forsaken cabin. Listen, he said softly now, stepping back slightly, if you're going to do this, you have to trust me. You need to move fast. Others will come for him, and they want to be kind. Each word was a warning, a lifeline amidst the chaos swirling in their hearts. They scrambled to the soldier, the weight of urgency pushing them to gather their strength. They hoisted him up as best they could, but he felt like dead weight, every inch dragging at their resolve. "Follow me," the man ordered, stepping away from the door. As he led the way, the girls supported the soldier, his blood seeping through their fingers, marking their frantic escape. Outside, the moon hung low in the velvet sky, casting a silvery glow through the trees. Shadows danced like restless spirits, warning them of the dangers lurking beyond the safety of the cabin. With every step, the fear that had gripped them inside the cabin morphed into an all-consuming dread. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed in the night, followed by hushed voices creeping closer through the woods. The man whipped around, eyes wide. "We're not alone," he hissed, urgency intensifying. "Run!" They sprinted deeper into the cover of the trees, heartbeats thumping in synchrony with the crunch of leaves underfoot. The soldier's weight bore down on them, but they pushed forward, driven by a fierce desire to reach safety. The haunting laugh of their pursuers chilled them to the bone, a reminder that every step they took could pull them closer to danger. Who were these people chasing them? What would happen if they caught up? The man paused briefly, glancing back at the girls. "Stick close. If they find us, we may not get out alive." They pressed on, the urgency pulsing through their veins as thick as the fear enveloping them. In the distance, they could hear the faint echoes of footsteps, a sinister promise that their ordeal was far from over. With desperation clawing at their throats, they pushed deeper into the forest, the shadows thickening around them. What had they unleashed? Could they actually make it out of this alive, or had they just signed their own death warrants by trying to save a stranger? The question spiraled, each one more urgent than the last, as they fought against the darkness closing in on them. Who were they truly protecting, and at what cost? The forest closed in around them, branches clawing at their arms, tugging at their jackets like grasping fingers. The chilling laughter from behind pulsed through the night, a dark echo that chilled their bones. "Faster!" the man yelled, his voice barely penetrating the chaos. Each footfall felt heavier, the weight of the soldier dragging them down like an anchor, but they couldn't stop. They had to push through, to escape whatever nightmare pursued them. The whispers grew louder, vibrating through the trees, twisting into frantic calls for blood and revenge. The man glanced over his shoulder, eyes sharp and filled with urgency. "We need to split up. They won't be able to track all of us." The girls exchanged a terrified glance, the bond of their friendship battling against the instinct to flee. "No way!" the brave girl shouted. "We stick together." "You don't understand," he began, but her voice cut through the night. "Then teach us. If we're going to survive this, we need to stick together." The words spilled from her lips, defiance igniting the icy air around them. With a fierce determination, the man nodded slightly, impressed by their spirit but fully aware of the danger they faced. His admiration flickered only briefly, overshadowed by the sound of footsteps relentlessly closing in. "Fine. But keep quiet, and whatever you do, don't look back." Silently, they pushed deeper into the shadows, hearts pounding against their ribcages like war drums. The trees loomed tall like sentinels, their limbs heavy with night. As they ducked under a low branch, the brave girl caught a glimpse of moonlight pooling on the ground, illuminating small patches of safety momentarily before plunging back into darkness. Suddenly, a twig snapped behind them. The man froze, eyes ghosting back towards the sounds. "Hide!" he hissed. They dove into the brush, feeling the unforgiving earth press into their limbs like a shroud. The soldiers' weak moans cut through the quiet, panic gripping their throats again. "Shoo!" the girl whispered urgently, pulling the soldier against her, trying to silence his suffering. He blinked, unfocused, and their eyes met. A flicker of recognition, perhaps gratitude or fear, swept through the air. Through the rustling leaves, they heard footsteps draw nearer. They strained to listen, hearts racing. "Where are they?" a cold voice demanded. The breath of the forest turned sharp, as if the branches themselves held their own breath. A chill swept through the man next to them, tension gripping his muscles. "They're hunting us," he muttered under his breath, his eyes darting like a wolf gauging the distance between danger and safety. Then, unthinkable chaos erupted. The soldiers, savage and relentless, burst through the dense foliage, torches flickering like fireflies. Their laughter melded with the night, brutal and mocking. "We know you're out there," one yelled, his voice laced with a sinister thrill. The girls exchanged horrified looks, their breaths coming hard and fast. But the man's gaze turned steely, gripping them with urgency. "We need to move, now." He began to pull them toward a cluster of thick underbrush, a fleeting option for their escape. With adrenaline surging, they stumbled back into flight, the soldiers' weight becoming an extension of their own desperation. As they burst forward, doubt clawed at their mind. What if they led their pursuers straight to freedom? Every step felt like a betrayal, a choice to risk everything. The woods around them thickened, whispers of fear transforming into shouts of determination. Finally, as they neared the edge of a cliff, the man halted abruptly. "We can either face them or jump." The brave girl interrupted, instincts kicking in. She glanced at the drop. "Are you insane?" he challenged, his tone a mix of disbelief and urgency. "We won't survive if we stay," she screamed, desperation fueling her words. "Jump." Time halted, gravity seemed to stretch, and as he opened his mouth to protest, the decision was made. The sound of footsteps drummed closer, their pursuit relentless. "Jump." Her voice was a thin line of hope. In the encroaching darkness, and in that breathless moment, they leaped, hearts in their throats, into the unknown. What lay beneath? Was it safety waiting below, or were the depths just another layer of their nightmare? They surrendered to fear and instinct, falling into the thick night, with the sound of their pursuers echoing closer. The air rushed past them, cold and unforgiving as they descended into darkness. Time stretched, each heartbeat echoing in their ears like a warning bell. Just as dread began to settle in their chests, the ground below broke their fall. They tumbled through a tangle of ferns and damp earth, the impact knocking the wind out of them, but adrenaline surged, pushing them to scramble upright. "Get up!" the man barked, his voice raw with urgency. He could hear the crackling of leaves, the low voices of their pursuers already searching the cliff edge above. Frantic whispers rolled through the trees like a storm gathering strength, chilling them even further. The girls gasped for breath, but there was no time to linger. Blinking back the haze of shock, they stumbled to their feet. The soldier, still weak, struggled to rise but managed to lean against a sturdy tree, his breaths coming in ragged gasps. "Are you all right?" the brave girl asked, her voice a mix of fear and concern. She looked urgently at the soldier, scanning for wounds, any sign of blood. "I've been through worse," he managed, though the pain was evident on his face. "Now we have to move quickly." They darted deeper into the underbrush, the only sounds now were their hurried breaths and the crackle of twigs underfoot. The forest enveloped them, shadows swallowing their figures as the night thickened around. But moments after they had begun to run, they heard a loud crash followed by angry shouts resonating from above. "They're coming!" The man spat, his face twisted in anxiety. "We need to find cover." They pushed through the tangled ferns, urgency propelling them forward. Suddenly, the forest opened up into a small clearing, moonlight spilling down like a beacon of fleeting hope. But just as relief washed over them, a sound broke the stillness, a low growl, primal and hungry. "Did you hear that?" the girl whispered, freezing in place. A heavy stillness fell upon the clearing, one that grew thicker as the growl repeated, reverberating through the trees like a sinister chant. "Keep moving," the man urged, scanning the clearing. But just then, a figure lurched from the shadows, moving with animalistic grace. It was unlike any creature they'd ever seen, a monstrous form lurking just at the edge of light, eyes gleaming like coals in the night. They took a collective step back, horror etched onto their faces as the realization sank in. Whatever hunted them was not just human. The soldier gripped the side of the tree, his vision narrowing as he faced the creature. "We can't let it see us," he hissed, voice trembling with both fear and authority. The girls nodded, understanding the urgency. They had to be silent. They had to survive the hunt not just from men but from this nightmare creature that now stalked them with a predatory flare. As the beast prowled closer, nostrils flaring, tasting the air for the scent of fresh prey, every instinct screamed for them to run. Yet, staying still felt perilous as well. The man caught the girl's eye, and they shared a moment that transcended words. A vow to keep each other safe, a promise forged from fear and adrenaline. With no clear path to follow, the air around them felt charged, the moment stretching awfully thin. Just then, the creature lunged forward. "Run!" the man shouted. They burst from their hiding spot, dashing toward the only exit, the darkness that lay beyond, but they were far from free. Behind, the snarls and snapping jaws echoed louder. As they fled, the chase was on, breathless and brutal. And in that night riddled with terror, each step felt like a countdown to oblivion, relentless as the hunters that pursued them. Could they outrun this nightmare, or would the darkness claim them? Every heartbeat held the answer, and time was running out. Branches whipped against their faces as they plunged deeper into the thicket. Panic surged through their veins. The soldiers' heart raced, each thud an ominous reminder of the creature on their tails. Shadows danced around them, rapidly shifting in the moonlight that spilled into the trees like spilled ink. "Where do we go?" one of the girls gasped, glancing back, terror stark in her eyes. The soldier gestured ahead, his voice a low growl. "We find somewhere to hide. We can't let it track us." His thoughts scrambled as he searched for a possible refuge, one that could shield them from the beast's insatiable hunger. Just when despair threatened to drown him, he caught sight of a gnarled old tree a short distance away, its hollow trunk shielding itself within ancient roots. "There!" he shouted. They veered off course, plunging toward the tree as the vicious snarls of the creature echoed behind them, louder, closer. Adrenaline surged. They reached the hollow and scrambled inside, pressing against the rough bark. The darkness enveloped them entirely, but it was so close outside. The shuffling footsteps of the predator skittered across the soil, filling the air with a sense of dread so thick it threatened to choke them all. "Is it gone?" the brave girl whispered, holding her breath, eyes wide in fear. The soldier strained to listen, his heart pounding in rhythm with the creature's padded footsteps. The beast snorted, lingering just outside their hideaway, its sharp breaths curdling the air. A low growl rippled through the silence again, sending shivers down their spines. Then a sudden crack. A branch snapped underfoot, causing them to recoil instinctively, crammed together within the hollow space. The predator paused, its ears twitching, and for a moment, the world seemed frozen. Only the weight of terror remained. "What if it finds us?" the other girl whimpered, her voice tinged with panic. "Then we fight," the soldier said, defiance igniting in his eyes. "Together." The creature circled, its movements leisurely, taunting them with every growl that rolled from its throat. Every moment felt endless, a suffocating burden of fear pressing down on their chests. Suddenly, it charged towards their hiding place. They braced for impact, hearts racing, adrenaline surging. But instead of lunging into the hollow, it veered off, drawn to a sound echoing through the trees. Could it be their pursuers? "Stay quiet," the soldier commanded, feeling the tension rise as they pressed deeper into the cool, damp earth, hoping for invisibility. Moments passed, drawing out like a tense silence before a storm. The growls faded as the creature slipped away to investigate whatever distraction stole its attention. "What is happening?" one girl whispered, relief clashing with the uncertainty curling around them. The soldier allowed a hint of hope to flicker in his chest but quickly pushed it down. "We can't stay here. If it returns," he trailed off, letting the unspoken words linger in the air. Carefully, he peered out of the hollow, scanning the darkened forest. Shadows melded into one another, the night thick and disorienting. Finally, he nodded. "It's clear. We need to move." The girls nodded, fear mingled with resolute determination. As they crawled out, the night air was filled with unearthly silence, the tension fraught with the promise of danger still lurking just beyond their view. "Where are the others?" the brave girl asked as they crept forward, skirting the edge of light. "They were supposed to be on lookout," the soldier replied, frowning, searching for signs of life. "But they must have been overrun." The stark reality hung heavily in the air. They were alone now, united only by survival. As they pressed on, every crack of a branch and rustle of leaves twisted their nerves tighter. They had survived the beast, for now. But another fight loomed ahead. They had to find shelter. They had to gather their strength. But as a faint snarl echoed once more, breaths caught in their throats, the hunt was far from over. And in that foreboding moment, the soldier wondered, who was really hunting whom? Racing shadows danced behind them, promising that they weren't just fighting for their lives but for a chance to uncover truths hidden within the darkness surrounding them. They stepped cautiously out from their hollow sanctuary, hearts pounding with every fleeting rustle. The night was thick with tension, the air heavy enough to slice through. The soldier led the way, eyes scanning the moonlit path ahead. Fear threaded through their group like a noose, cutting off their breaths. "There," he suddenly whispered, pointing at a clearing up ahead, where the trees parted slightly. "We can make a run for it." The brave girl nodded, muscles taut. "But what if it's waiting for us?" "We can't linger," the soldier urged, adrenaline surging. "It knows we're here. We have to keep moving." They broke into a sprint, feet pounding the dry leaves and underbrush like war drums. The clearing beckoned, a promise of safety, yet every step felt like surrendering to the darkness closing in behind them. Panic squirmed in the girl's eyes, but they pressed on, propelled by instinct, by the hope of escape. Suddenly, a terrifying growl shattered the night, echoing off the trees and wrapping around them like a sinister embrace. The soldier's heart dropped. It was right on their heels. "Run!" he shouted, instinct fueling his command as he shot ahead, barely glancing back. They stumbled into the clearing, gasping for breath. The soldier skidded to a halt in front of a decrepit cabin, the wood worn and weather-beaten, half hidden beneath twisting vines. It looked ancient, but it was shelter and uncertain haven amidst this chaos. "Quick!" he urged, ushering the girls inside just as a shadow passed overhead, dark and looming. They darted inside, retreating into a cramped space that felt simultaneously safe and suffocating. The heavy door creaked shut behind them. They pressed themselves against the walls, catching their breath in shuddering gasps. The soldier leaned against the door, eyes scanning the dim interior, hoping it would provide some defense. "What now?" one girl whispered, her voice trembling as if the fear might seep into her very being. The soldier clenched his jaw, contemplating the situation. "We wait. We have no other choice." He paused, his voice low and steady. "But we need to be prepared to fight if it comes in." The tension in the tiny cabin thickened, coiling around them. They could barely hear above their heartbeats. The world outside pulsated with the sounds of the creature prowling, its growls echoing under the moonlight like distant thunder. Each second stretched on, closer and closer to the breaking point. The girls glanced at him, searching for leads, for hope. But he realized that he held no clear answer, just uncertainty that reflected back in their wide, terrified eyes. Do you think the others are safe?" the brave girl ventured, her voice frail, cracking under the weight of despair. That he shook his head, unwilling to let the thought spiral out of control. "We have to focus on us. We can't worry about what happened outside these walls." Just then, a forceful crash erupted, shaking the cabin as if an earthquake had struck. The soldier's breath caught. The creature was forcing its way inside. "Get ready!" he growled, reaching for anything he could use as a weapon. A broken chair leg, a piece of corroded metal. "No!" the other girl shrieked, her voice splintered with fear. "It can smell our fear. Just stay quiet." But they'd already lost the element of surprise. Shadows danced outside, and the growling grew louder, triumphant. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, to break free of the cabin's betrayal. He fought to suppress that primal urge. As the door shuddered violently, splintering under the creature's vicious assault, the soldier locked eyes with both girls. They were all in this together, kindred spirits bound by fate. The door cracked open, a sliver of darkness spilling in like smoke, taunting them with the promise of despair. The soldier stood ready, heart racing, muscles tensed. But that wasn't just the creature waiting outside. No, something else lurked in the shadows beyond, a flicker of movement that sent a chill down his spine. What was that? He whispered, the fear bubbling back to the surface. As the door splintered further, the soldier held his breath, ready for the worst. The moment hung heavy as he pondered, could it be the others, or was it something even more sinister waiting just beyond the threshold? When the door finally burst open, revealing not just the creature but an unknown figure cloaked in darkness, the soldier realized survival required more than strength, it demanded trust in the unknown. Who was this newcomer, and what were their intentions? The figure stepped into the cabin, shrouded in shadows, their face obscured. Silence fell like a heavy blanket, stifling their breaths and restricting any scream. The soldier tightened his grip on the makeshift weapon, heart pounding furiously against his chest. "What do you want?" he demanded, voice hoarse. He wanted reassurance from this stranger, he needed to believe there was hope, but every fiber of his being screamed mistrust. The figure paused, an eerie calm settling in the small space. "I'm here to help if you'll let me," they replied, voice smooth but somehow lacking warmth. "But we have to move quickly." "Move? Move where?" The soldier glanced at the girls, one was shaking, the other deadlocked in confusion. "We can't go out there. Not with that thing hunting us." The newcomer stepped further inside, a dim flicker of light catching the outline of a hooded jacket. "I know where it is. If you're quiet and stick close, we can escape." Fear twisted in the soldier's gut. Did this stranger really know how to navigate the perilous woods, or were they leading them to certain doom? "Why should we trust you?" The brave girl shot back, eyes narrowing as they assessed the figure. "You could be part of whatever that thing is." A glimmer of annoyance flashed across the newcomer's face. "Trust me or don't. Your choice. But time is running out." They shoved the door, reinforcing it against the creature's impending charge. The cabin rattled, splinters flying off the frame. The soldier's instincts screamed at him to safeguard the girls, to defend their lives against any threat. But the shadows beyond the walls were thick with danger. "Listen," the figure continued, gaze steely as they turned to the soldier. "I've seen it before. It hunts through your fear. If you want a chance at survival, you have to let it go." "Let what go?" he asked, confusion blooming alongside anger. "Your fear. Face it. If you don't, it will find you." As if on cue, a thunderous crash shook the cabin, and the door shuddered violently in its frame, groaning under the beast's relentless assault. The air thickened with tension, forcing the soldier to swallow hard. Panic flared in the girl's eyes, and he felt it too. "Now. We have to go." The newcomer grabbed the soldier by the shoulder, urgency radiating from them. He hesitated, fleeting moments stretched like hours. "You're sure this will work? Your fear is the bait. If you move with me, you can outsmart it," they whispered urgently, eyes darting toward the door. Before he could respond, they pulled him towards a window, small and dirty, the jagged glass glinting menacingly in the dim light. The growls outside merged with shrill screams echoing in his mind, a cacophony of terror that threatened to swallow them whole. "Help the girls out first," he barked, selflessness igniting in his chest. "I'll follow." The newcomer nodded. They pushed the brave girl through the window, her body wriggling out like a determined worm. She landed with a soft thud, and even through the lashes of anxiety, a flicker of hope emerged in her eyes. The other girl followed, her hands trembling as she grappled onto the edges, but the soldier felt rooted to the ground. The chaos of uncertainty swirled around him. "Go! I've got this!" he shouted as he turned back, bracing himself against the door, fearing the splits and cracks could be their end. Just as he prepared to launch himself through the opening, the creature's growl morphed into an ear-splitting roar, rattling the walls of the cabin, a promise of death. The soldier's heart raced, fueled by adrenaline. With one last glance at the shadowy figure, he vaulted through the opening, landing just outside the cabin as the door shattered behind him. But what emerged from that darkness was far more than he could have imagined, and the unknown figure, while helpful, held secrets deeper than this night of terror. "What did you get us into?" he gasped, realization washing over him. As they sprinted through the dense forest, the echoes of growls and chaos behind them, a thought clawed at the back of his mind. Sometimes, trusting a stranger risks more than confronting fear alone. But what if the stranger was the key to their survival? Their fate was uncertain, but the shadows stretched deeper, revealing that they were only beginning to scrape the surface of this nightmare. What would they face next? Branches snapped underfoot as the soldier sprinted after the girls, his lungs burning with each desperate breath. The forest loomed ominously around them, a tangle of shadows and whispering winds. Every rustle sent chills down his spine, reminding him of the nightmare chasing them. "Keep going!" he shouted, urgency lacing his voice. The brave girl, adrenaline coursing through her veins, led the way, while the frightened girl stumbled slightly, her resolve wavering in the darkness. Glancing back, he caught a flicker of movement in the trees, a fleeting shadow that seemed to pulse with anger. "Faster!" he urged, heart pounding like a war drum. Just then, the growl echoed again, deep and primal, shaking the very ground beneath them. It was closer, hunting them. The newcomer, still a silent shadow next to him, seemed unfazed, eyes scanning their surroundings. "This way!" they called, veering left into a narrow path overgrown with brambles. "Is this safe?" he asked, doubt creeping into his mind, moments from turning into chaos. "Do you want to die?" The figure's response was icy, but necessary. They pressed on, weaving through the underbrush like a well-rehearsed dance. The air grew thick, the scent of damp earth mingling with the tang of fear. They stumbled upon a small clearing, moonlight illuminating a cluster of gnarled trees. The soldier hitched his breath. This couldn't be a good place to stop. "This isn't good," he muttered, scanning for threats. "Quiet, we can hide here for a moment," the newcomer insisted, urgency cracking their smooth facade. The brave girl leaned against a tree, trying to catch her breath. "What if it finds us?" she breathed, panic in her eyes. The soldier could see her trembling, helpless against the unknown terror. "It won't if you stay silent," the figure replied, glancing toward the dark edges of the clearing. "It senses emotion. The more fear you show, the weaker you become." "But how can we just stand here?" he countered, his heart hammering against his ribs. It felt too quiet. The looming threat played tricks on his mind, each low whisper of wind echoing with the creature's growl. "It's part of the plan," the newcomer said, voice barely above a whisper. "We need to let it come to us. I'll distract it. Just trust me." "Trust you?" The soldier's tone was incredulous. "We just met. You expect us to believe you can defend us?" "I'm not asking you to believe. I'm asking you to survive." They stepped into the shadows, the darkness swallowing their form as if claiming its own. "Wait." He reached out, panic flaring in his gut, but they had already melded into the night. "Just stay put." The newcomer's voice floated from somewhere ahead. "I'll do what I can." A chilling silence followed, and all he could hear was the frantic beating of his heart as dread clutched at him. Fear spread through him, knitting tight in his chest. "Do you think they'll be okay?" the frightened girl whispered, eyes wide, terror pooling in her gaze. "We have no choice but to hope," he replied, steeling himself. Just then, rustling broke the stillness, a deep crack of branches. It was coming. "Stay down," he hissed, dropping beside the brave girl. They pressed close to the ground, trying to make their heartbeat less audible. The growl reverberated through the trees, a promise that it was drawing near. They held their breath, clenching their fists, hearts racing in unison. The soldier's mind raced, 1,000 thoughts flickered through him like shadows against the moonlight. What were they up against? How could they fight something that thrived on fear? Suddenly, a chilling scream pierced the air. "Stay here!" he commanded, adrenaline surging as he darted forward. He had to find that figure. They could not afford to lose another member of their fragile alliance or risk his own sanity in the face of horror. But as he moved deeper into the shadows, a heavy weight snagged in his mind. If the creature had found them, what could he do alone to protect the girls? And as branches encroached around him like a living maze, reality began to twist, a new terror dawning on him. What if trusting this figure had been their greatest mistake? And could the path they tread lead straight into the maw of doom? In the depths of the forest, shadows swallowed the night as the soldier zigzagged through the underbrush, urgency roaring in his ears. He fought against panic, pushing through undergrowth, desperate to find the figure that had vanished into the darkness, and more importantly, to save the girls. With every heartbeat, memories flickered. He couldn't let them down. "Wait! I'm coming!" he shouted into the dark. His voice echoed, swallowed by the trees around him. The atmosphere felt heavy, drenched in fear. Then, a shriek rang out, sharp as a knife. It pierced through his chest, striking dread squarely into his heart. "No!" he cried, rushing forward, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Then he heard them, the growls of the creature, menacing and close. It was right there, prowling the periphery, hunting with a terrifying hunger. The soldier pushed harder, fear driving his every move. "Where are you?" he called out, voice strained, searching the shadows, but just then, he spotted a flicker of movement in the distance. "Hey!" he shouted, and relief washed over him as he saw the shadowy figure re-emerge from the unseen. Their eyes glinted in the dim light, catching his gaze for a fleeting second. "Here!" they beckoned urgently, pointing toward a thicket. But the ominous growls shifted, rising in volume, echoing as the creature turned its attention toward him. "Follow me!" The figure dashed ahead, leading the way. Before he could think, he followed, ducking beneath branches, heart racing, the beast's breath growling less than a heartbeat away. And then at last, they came to a hollow cave, small but just big enough for the soldier and the girls to squeeze inside. They huddled together, barely breathing, fear hanging thick in the air. With sharpened senses, they listened as the snarls grew louder, followed by heavy footfalls. It lingered at the mouth of the cave, pacing, every breath a storm cloud threatening to explode. "If it finds us," one girl whispered, eyes wide with terror. The soldier turned toward the newcomer. "You need to have a plan," he urged, his voice low but steady, even as his hands trembled at the edges. The figure nodded. "We need to outsmart it. Fear is its weapon. But there is something deeper in this cave. It could lead us to safety." "What do you mean?" he challenged, skepticism cutting through the desperation. The figure pointed into the cavernous depths, shadows looming like phantoms. "It hunts with fear, but if we embrace it, if we confront it rather than run, we can break its hold." "The only way out is through?" the brave girl asked, blue eyes darting between them. "Exactly," the figure said, taking a deep breath. "But we must go together. Stay close." As they edged into the darkness, the air grew colder. The eerie silence was suffocating, filled with the whisper of their fears. The atmosphere shifted, tension thick like fog. They walked further, the unsettled ground shifting beneath their feet. Then, out of nowhere, the growl erupted, closer and angrier than before, cutting through the dark like a sharp blade. "There!" the soldier gasped, pointing. They could just make out the silhouette of the monster outside the entrance, muscles taut with rage, nostrils flaring at the mouth of their sanctuary. "Face it!" The soldier shouted, stepping forward. "I will not let you take us." His voice rang boldly, though his heart rattled with fear. The creature froze, momentarily stunned by his proclamation, and in that eerie stillness, they all felt a spark of power budding. "Together now!" the figure commanded, bringing the others close. With a collective deep breath, they embraced their fear, refusing to let it choke them. The soldier's fists trembled at his side, resolute in this moment together as one. "Back!" he bellowed, stepping into the darkness shielding the girls. The creature surged forward. It lunged, but they stood united, every ounce of resolve pooling in that moment of clarity. "We see you," the soldier declared, eyes blazing in the shadows. "We see you taking on our fear." The beast halted, confusion rippling through its eyes, and that very realization shattered an invisible barrier. Their fear began to falter. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, catching the monster by surprise. Roaring, the creature thrummed a sound of frustration, then pulled back. It felt their combined resolve as the tension broke, pushing it back into the night. Through the corner of his eye, the soldier saw the girls nodding at him, brave souls forging their own strength. "Let us go," he urged. Breaking free, they rushed deeper into the cave, stepping through the darkness, adrenaline finding new heights. Each step promised discovery, the ground beneath them dry as bone, guiding them ahead. As the cave opened up ahead, light spilled in, warmth flooding through as they emerged. They stood there, triumphant yet breathless, the danger still lurking outside. "We did it!" The brave girl beamed, but the fight wasn't over yet, they knew it. The soldier turned and faced the shadows behind them, determination etched into every feature. Together, each heart united by courage, would walk toward whatever awaited. For in those woods, they had fought fear, and they chose light over dark, and as they stepped into the world beyond, a new dawn awaited them, carrying hints of warmth in its embrace, fragile but undeniable, a beginning amidst the chaos, a chance at something different. Now, remember the names of those who stepped beyond fear. And if you want to keep up with stories of bravery and hope, you need to subscribe now. The time is now to show your support. So smash that like button so we can keep making these incredible tales. Tell us in the comments, what do you think happens next for these fighters? Flood us with your thoughts and theories, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world. Together, we turn fear into strength and dreams into reality.